Welcome into 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank, where it's the day before the start of the college baseball season, the week after the Super Bowl, just a few weeks away from Kentucky spring football, maybe the last ever. We're going to discuss why and much more. But first, I do want to tell you about our good friends at Monticello Bank, where you can enjoy the home court advantage with Monticello Bank's HELOC special. HELOC, that stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. Use the equity you've built in your home to finance special projects, whether you want to put a new deck or maybe a new pool in this year, pimp out your backyard, new addition to the house. Or I know some folks, you got to prep that mother-in-law suite for the old lady to move in. So whatever the case may be, put Monticello Bank on your side. They're going to get you the best rate because at Monticello Bank, it's where people matter. It's what's kept them in business for more than 120 years. So stop on in one of their neighborhood branches or visit them online at nbcbank.com to see how you can get hooked up with the home court HELOC advantage at Monticello Bank. Walker, he's already joking that hopefully this is Stoops' last spring practice at UK. It might just be the last spring practice ever. And I'm for it. As much as I enjoy dabbling in spring practice, it's not what it was, right? Like it's not what it used to be, and that's never coming back. So it feels like there's a little bit of momentum for it. We still do not have dates for a spring practice, a spring game for Kentucky football. But we should get that in a little bit, and it might be our last go around with spring practice, at least spring practice as we know it.
Yes, happy Thursday to you, Miss Roush. Thanks to our good friends at Monticello Bank for having us, and all our good friends here live. And yeah, I think college football calendar has been absolutely blown up to smithereens, and this is just kind of side effect of that, right?
Yeah.
Like you used to have a sensible calendar here, right? Season, bowl games, season ends around New Year's Day or a week after New Year's Day-ish. Recruiting takes over. Go and try to close on your recruits. February signing day. Wrap that up. Take a couple weeks off. Spring practice starts, right? You do the spring thing, and then that's like it was like a tent pole, I think, event. Spring games become like a televised product. People actually watch them because this great country of ours loves tackle football. And then you go into like what was really the real offseason, which was from May to July.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting kind of takes over, get through that, and then the season starts essentially in July when everyone starts ramping up, both from teams getting ready for camp to people like us who talk incessantly about football for a living, and also for fans like to get ready for the season. Well, now that's all out of whack because like we have an unlimited roster building window.
Yes.
It's nonstop to build your roster. It's nonstop. It goes until May to June. You've got players on this roster that won't be on the roster in, I don't know, Derby Day, right? There'll be guys that aren't on the roster come Derby Day.
Mm-hmm.
And what you also have is people watch these spring games in Tampa a little bit.
Huh.
Jeremiah Anglin.
Our boy Grady Judd, our sweet baby prince, which
yeah.
Where is
he went to Pitt, and you'll never believe this. He jumped in the portal after a year at Pitt.
I don't think he ever jumped back anywhere else. Interesting.
Yeah, that might be a situation where he had to
recruitment 100% open, and his phone number. Should we give him a call? Say,
hey, can work for KSR.
Want to come back, Grady Judd? Well, and that was too. Like he had the pick six, and he played quite a bit. That was right after he had gotten his knee cleared. He had surgery basically as soon as he arrived on campus.
But it's two-sided. Like to tell the Grady Judd story, you also got to tell the DJ Waller story.
That's true. Because he was competing in spring camp up at Michigan with, I forget the other guy. And it was he said, she said on who was going to win that competition to be the corner opposite their All-American, that guy's in the draft now, right? Johnson? Is it his last
Yeah,
name?
he will be a top 10-ish pick. Will
Yeah.
Johnson, yes.
Yeah. So Kentucky ends up getting DJ Waller out of that. But that the portal's going to be the death blow of it. But we've been kind of trending this way in a while. It mattered a lot when you use this as a fan hype event. I'm sure there's some people watching this, listening right now, who were at Stoops' first spring game. That was the big, hey, we're here. We believe in this guy. We're going to show up. And they had, 40,000 people show up for a bad scrimmage. But that was when it was still a scrimmage. And then as the years went on, injuries made it like coaches liked him less and less. Television, I think, made Mark Stoops like it less and less because people want to watch it and they don't want to show diddly. They don't want people to see anything. These coaches are paranoid.
That you were getting to ultimately why, to me, we're at this situation. Coaches want control.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have control of their roster at this point in the calendar.
Nope.
Don't really ever have control anymore.
Right.
And so you have these practices, and your team can be tampered with. Like Matt Rule has talked specifically about this on a microphone about how he doesn't want to have a spring game because he feels like someone will steal their player. Essentially, Hugh Freeze has talked about how he doesn't even want to have spring practice because I think there's just so much other stuff going on. I think they would rather, and that's what they're proposing here.
Yes.
Is
OTA.
Instead of having, they would have nothing in the spring. It would just, winter workouts would be extended. And it actually might be a thing where maybe they give the player, maybe the winter workouts start a little bit later than what they're starting right now.
I wonder too if they would do, so spring practice is 15. And you can only tackle or use pads in, I think, 11 of those because you have to do helmets first 2, then shells the next 2. I wonder, because I don't know the exact number. Is it 10 hours a week once they do OTAs? Like there's an hour limit.
There's an OTA window over the summer
in June. Yeah, and it might even be less. It might only be like I feel like they do 2 1-hour meetings a week. It might even be as little as 2 hours. But so I wonder if you break that down, if you had, like, I think there would be something beneficial to a 3-day spring mini camp, right?
That's what is going to happen. The reviews on these OTAs have been very glowing because they used to not be able to talk to them at all, and they would have to do the thing where they would watch from like somewhere up top, kind of.
Yeah. In Kentucky's case, they have the football offices.
They have the balconies.
Oh, I'm at my football office today. I guess I'm seeing them work. But the line of thinking is that it's kind of year-round school, right? Teachers get mad because over 3 months their kids forget everything, right? So what they do is they make only a 6-week break and you retain more information.
Yeah.
So the thought behind OTAs is your install period, the first week, it's just much quicker, it's much crisper. You get to the real meat and potatoes quicker because you aren't having to relearn everything that you did from April. You're just doing it from June. So, which I don't mind it, and I know the players wouldn't mind it because here's the other part about spring practice. 15 practices is way too long, like it.
And it lasts for 5 weeks because they do 3 practices a week.
It's a long time, man. Like and when you're only doing the boring stuff, like you're not getting ready for an opponent. It's all like fundamentals, driving. You're not tackling either because they don't want anybody to be hurt. It's kind of 7-on-70 stuff. It sucks for them. And for a lot of the old guys, like, I don't even know how much they do. So I think you would get more out of just limited brief things. And I think ultimately, even if you had 2 of those, right? Like you still get the benefit of getting the high school kids in early because they can do routes on air or whatever with them and then have a couple of practices where they actually get to compete. And then if you have, some sort of 7-on-7 tailgate event, which we haven't had any announcement, but Luckett, I would put all the money in my wallet down that they're not going to call it a spring game. It's going to be Kentucky football spring showcase.
Yeah, that's what Ole Miss did. They had like a dunk contest and other random games.
I don't know if Stoops is a dunk contest kind of guy, though. It might just be flag football kind of deal.
Yeah, I want to make this point before I get to Kentucky and how they might take this on. They do want a mini camp. It's going to be like a mini camp. I think you could probably split it up where maybe it'll be freshmen, like Scott Satterfield liked to have half of the practice would be freshmen, newcomers, and then half would be veterans. And like it was kind of like, when you're in high school, the freshman JV kind of on-ramping. This is how we practice. This is how we do things. And really use the spring to kind of onboard new players.
And right now, Kentucky has 40?
Yeah. So maybe it's a thing like that where Kentucky does that, has half and half, and then maybe at the end they meet together. But how it looks and what it looks like will be interesting. How I think it's important. Obviously, I have bias here, but I think it's important that you involve the fans in this somehow because you're taking something away.
Yes.
That your hardcores went to every year. So
yeah. Oh, in the snow. We were in the damn snow that one year.
So it's not just Kentucky and it's everyone. I think it's very important that you find a good replacement for this because you're asking a lot of fans right now. I think it's very important for your sport and for growth to do that. And so now pivoting to Kentucky, Nick.
Which by the way, that was an early. I've got a picture of me at I'm pretty sure it was a spring game, back when Jared was there. Like that was, it's like it's an event that is pretty democratic. You don't have to be able to buy a bunch of tickets. It's where your kids can get their first real taste of seeing the football team up close. And that was the big thing for me. It was seeing them up close. Right? Like we're sitting in section 226, row 25, seat 25. You're up pretty darn high, right? Like you people around you got binoculars and they got the rabbit ears on. Getting to go down like on the field and see how big those guys were, that's impressionable for young fans. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, and not just NIL sort of we're going to sign autographs deal. Like, no. At least throw some football around. And wear the jerseys and let me see you in the number in the uniform. Because I think a lot, to your point about the onboarding process, that's a part of a process as a fan too. Seeing these guys, putting faces to names and numbers.
Well, it's an event that it's part of the fabric of the sport. So if you take that away, you need to have something to replace it. It really shouldn't be, let's have OTAs and close everyone off.
Yeah.
Because camps are already closed off.
Right.
It can't just be that. I mean, they need to find something. That was just my 2 cents on the issue. But though for Kentucky, Nick, it's been no secret that they don't take spring very seriously over there.
Correct.
We want to stay healthy. All of that. But in a year where you're resetting the culture,
might be getting after
fix the culture. I'll be interested to see if that's different over there.
I think that's a good point. I wonder, it'd be a fun way to phrase that to Mark Stoops whenever we get to speak with him. So when you're supposed to be in a few weeks, he spoke earlier this week. Maybe we can mention that. But first, I got a new sponsor alert to mention. Like, did you know we got a new sponsor?
I know now. I think I saw the email this morning. Did not get a chance to read it, but love when the new sponsor emails get rolling through.
Look good, feel good, play good, pay good with Roback, especially when you use promo code 20% off. New customers are going to get 20% off when they use promo code KSR at Roback.com. You've seen Roback. I'm wearing a Roback polo in the thumbnail. It's the most comfortable activewear out there. The best fit, the best feel. They've got the polos, the hoodies, quarter zips, the Q zips. When do we shorten it to just Q zip? I guess Q zip does sound a little bit cleaner. But they've also got the everyday shorts, the Delta Performance pants. They're the perfect pairing. Super comfortable with the elastic waistband. So like you look kind of nice, but you're still comfortable, and you can wear those comfortable polos with them. I really like the collars too. Just like you don't look sloppy. You look clean, you look professional, and you feel great because Roback, they're the best polos out there. So go ahead, hook yourself up. I know we've got Keeneland season right around the corner. That's the move too, by the way. The polo under the sport coat at Keeneland, that's
well,
the move.
You're missing it's golf season.
I mean, it's 33 degrees outside today, Mr. Luckett.
I mean, golf season's right around the corner. I mean, it'll be March. It'll be warm. You need polos to go play golf, both now and in the summer. So you can get ahead.
Yes, get ahead of the game.
And have your lineup stacked up so you don't have to wear the same two polos every time you go to the club.
Go to roback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Put in promo code KSR, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase at roback.com. We appreciate our good friends at Roback. And I hear there's some UK swag coming around the corner at Roback. Just keep an eye out for that in the next couple of weeks. Roback.com, promo code KSR. All right, Mr. Luckett. We did have a question from Peyton that I think would be decent to answer. Most of that 2022 class, they transferred out. I think we're better off now that most are gone and that there were a majority of culture issues.
Before you say anything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. That class had a lot of guys. Like Kentucky is very much, when they say recruit and develop, it's like, come in, red shirt, pay your dues, learn what it takes to win, learn from the old guys, then you take over. Where that 2022 class wasn't really like that. They came in and played right away.
Yep.
A lot of them. And then it felt like it never got better from that freshman year. So like my issue is it kind of a program issue? Like the program didn't know how to
handle
that and develop that. Was that the issue? I don't know, maybe. I think, and then you get that confirmed with kind of the portal guys they went after. Smaller school guys who made like a Kendrick Law, who by all accounts was a really hard worker at Alabama, but never really got his opportunity. So got like guys that are hungry, looking for a big opportunity. You might kind of fit what Kentucky's kind of their DNA, I guess you would say, under Mark Stoops from a player personnel like background type situation. So that's what I wonder. I think it's easy maybe to blame the individuals, but I also wonder like was the program just did not know how to truly handle that efficiently, I guess. After these guys have these big freshman season, they're looking like future stars, and then they don't become that for you. It can't just be, because it wasn't just one player, it was multiple players we're talking about here.
Correct. And to answer Peyton's question, just point blank, it's better off today that they bolted and that they didn't stick around and try to fix it, because you ain't fixing it,
Well, they tried to.
Yeah.
They came back last year. Yeah. They paid money for that to come back last year.
It didn't work. So you needed to have that separation, just a hard reset. And you know what? Those guys will probably have some success elsewhere. I think some of them will. And you know what? Best of luck to them. It didn't work out at Kentucky. Hopefully the new guys, they can work out for them. I think Kentucky they didn't announce anything new today, right? It was just the graphic that they had to delete a few times.
We did get it. They have a spring roster. Up on. So I've been working on that. We'll have I'll have a post up at KSR tonight on it, kind of the numbers and the heights and weights, and then I'll have a big takeaway story on KSR Plus on Friday, just going through all the data we got here. But yeah, we've got numbers. We've got no True Edwards, Nick, as you've kind of alluded to on KS Board earlier today, but everyone else is all accounted for. It looks like we've got some returnees, like Cole Lanter is back on the team. Walk on out of Boyle County.
Didn't know that.
Who was at Gardner Webb, so he's rejoined the team. And then it looks like there's no real big surprises. There's another Gusta on the team. from
Another
the
one?
same hometown as David Gustas, so it looks like
Little
a little
brother or
brother,
something? Yeah.
yeah, brother connection
I don't like his
there.
number. Number 60 for a defensive tackle. Terrible number. Awful. Uh,
Well, if you're wearing 60 and you're a defensive tackle, you're probably good. Like
you-
you're either a walk on and you stink, or you're good. There's no in between.
yeah, yeah. It's just I was Cordell Looney 63.
He was 59,
Poop Johnson was
67.
67. Yeah, it just I don't know. 60 just yeah, it just screams walk on number to me. I do like 90 from Marquise Humphrey Grace, which I guess he is going. He added the Humphrey, um, but 90 is my ideal defensive end number, and I
Yeah,
like
just very traditional.
4 for Martell's Carter as a nickel. That safety nickel that feels good. That feels right. What do we think about 7 for DJ Miller, the big X receiver?
7's a good receiver number.
I think
Zach
more
Calzado will
quarterback,
be. Yeah, go
but
ahead.
it's
Yeah,
more of
it's
a
a
quarterback, but it's still kind of like, huh? I'm intrigued by this, Mr. Miller. Intrigued by this.
yeah, and then Zach Calzado will be the first Kentucky QB since Mike Hartline, who is now on staff. I don't believe that was it. Was that announced when we were on last week? I can't remember if it was or not. Yeah, it was. We talked about it. Okay. So, yeah, he's wearing number 5, and that's the number Hartline wore here. He was the last starting quarterback to wear number 5. So,
And
got that there.
Pookie Jones were number 5 back in the day.
16.
Who was the 5 around that time? I thought there was another 5.
Now,
Well, I'm
I
off.
I do want to point this out, Nick, and I'll have it
Well,
in.
Olds is 11 at edge. That's fun. But
Yeah.
yes, I'll stop with my silly uniform takes.
Calzado, like everyone was kind of like, oh, is he not that big? Because Incarnate Word had his weight as like 215, but like if you watched him, you were like, oh, this is a big guy, 6'4", 230. Like this is a big quarterback, and we talked about maybe how he could run some power and stuff like that. Like it's just a big dude. They've got at quarterback.
Bo Allen is still playing football?
That was a bit that kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting to see him. I thought he was? Did he participate in Senior Day last year? I thought he did,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
means nothing really in this
Correct.
day and age.
It's still though is a little different. I don't think many expected it, but it doesn't hurt having that guy around.
Brian August, excuse me. They threw his middle name letter in there. So Brian J. August.
Don't want to be confused with the other Brian August.
Yeah, so you'll have to get used to that. That one definitely stuck out to me. Willie Rodriguez, 251 pounds.
God, he's so damn big.
So that I'm always a little skeptical of these heights and weights, but it's something to just note and then see if, like, to me, it's like, okay, this is the weight. When we go out and see them, this eye test match that.
Brian Robinson, 268.
Yeah, I could see.
Big old boy.
I could see that he was, I think, a legit 250-ish last year. So if he hit we know he hits the training table hard. So if he hit the training table in the weight room pretty hard, I think he always projects as a guy that could get up to 265, 270 to me.
If you were going to hit the training table hard, Mr. Luckett, like, what do you think would be your ideal bulking food? Right? Coaches say, Luckett, you need 15 pounds. It can't be all Bud White. What are you?
A lot of PB&Js, like snack, not just like snacks, like before bed. PB&J,
Yeah.
glass of milk, steak, a lot of steak, like the burrito bowls at like Chipotle. I know those are popular. You double steak it.
I think that's the way I would do is double steak, double beans on just, whatever it may be. Just load up on the double meat. And, those, I don't mind the protein shakes, but I would prefer the PB&Js over. Because, like, sometimes the protein shake, it's so filling that it's not.
Well, you could do the protein bars. You could just pop a couple of those in as a snack.
Some aren't as. Yeah, I would love to get back into gain season, but we're in the opposite. We don't need to do the gains.
We're at the age where our body embraces gain season a little too much.
But that was, I remember before my senior year of high school, I was 6'5", 210, and I wanted to get up to 225. And I worked my tail off, and I got there. I did all the creatine, I did all the protein drinks, I did all that stuff, and I wasn't built for it. I wasn't built for it. Like 2-a-day start, and it just the water weight. It was like 10 pounds of practice of sweat, and you're just
And
cooked. You're not
and
gaining
then
that back.
a year later, you got there very easily once you started consuming the pops on campus in Lexington.
Oh man, I also did the thing too. I don't know if you were like this. When I was done with sports, I was like, I'm not exercising. You will not see me at the Johnson Center. Like I put my work in. I'm not. And you know what? I don't think I stepped foot in there a dozen times in 4 years. I was just like, screw this.
I would try. It would just be hard to get there. Like, I mean, it's not much different than now. You just like, I got other stuff to do.
Yeah, like drink,
Yeah.
Sleep
till 11.
Doing intramurals was fun, but I couldn't. I was just like, I'm not going to go be one of those workout 4 days a week guys. It's just not. I did this for my whole life. I'm taking a break. I'm boozing. We're gonna go eat some White Castles, which don't eat them in the early afternoon. Don't do
no
that.
Lunch. Do not do White Castles for lunch.
Yeah, don't.
That and Taco Bell are the same. You cannot eat, like, the sun's got to be down if you'd eat those.
See, I can do Taco Bell. Like, that's my one junk food that it's like whenever, wherever, we're meant to be together. It's just, bring it on.
White Castle's got good breakfast sandwiches, though. I think we've talked about that on here. So if you're ever like around one and you want a breakfast sandwich,
you taking your wife to White Castle for Valentine's Day?
See, they don't, I don't think, do that anymore. But yeah, we're getting it. Like, she's picking it up on her way home from work. It's our like a little tradition. So we'll eat White Castle for dinner on Valentine's Day.
That's romantic. So romantic.
That's how we roll in Bullitt County, baby. Oh man, there was out here. Oh, I think I told you about we had 2 weeks ago. I had a heavy police presence on my street.
Right.
Just trying to blog, and I look out. There's some cops with shields and vests on, Kevlar vests, and I'm like, okay, happy Monday. And then on the Super Bowl, I was unaware we had any Philadelphia Eagles fans in my cul-de-sac back here, Nick.
Oh, but I bet you learned.
But I learned on Super Bowl Sunday, first touchdown, boom, pop, fireworks. Every touchdown, fireworks went off. My dogs go absolutely ape. You know what?
Were you sure they were fireworks or 12-gauge shotguns?
I'm pretty sure. Woke the baby, and then I thought I was gonna have to just like tie down my wife so she didn't go try to hunt and find this person lighting off fireworks.
Oh man!
And I've told you about, you're all gonna have to come out here for 4th of July next year.
Yeah.
You think Thunder over Louisville's something? Like, this blows that out of the water. I'm not even kidding. I thought I was under attack for 4 hours this year.
Man, that's incredible. Was there anything? Hell, I don't even know if we spent 5 hours in a car together going to Nashville this week to hang out with our On3 brethren down there. I don't even know if we talked Super Bowl. Was there anything from the game that surprised you? I know you talked about, like, if the Eagles want to win, they need it to be kind of a blowout, but them dominating Mahomes in the way they did that first half was, I thought they were good. I didn't know they were kick all that kind of ass good. That was something.
Yeah, I think they hit another gear. I think Kansas City offensive staff didn't do a great job about having built-in answers for the rush. And I think they just kind of got swallowed up in the momentum of the game. It really got away from them quickly. They just couldn't even string first downs together. And I think their personnel issues finally showed up. Like, if you can't pass protect, the ball's got to come out quick. Well, for the ball to come out quick, your receivers, either by scheme or just be able to get open, they have to be able to get open fast. Mm-hmm. And anyone who watched the Chiefs knew that was a potential issue.
Yeah.
Because Mahomes would have to be Superman for the people to get open. And Kelsey used to be one of those quick winners.
Right.
And that used to be like their built-in answer for a lot of problems, like their pressure release. And he just doesn't have it anymore. Last 2 years, really, he kind of hit the fountain of youth there for that playoff run last year. But that's kind of who he's been more times than not, was kind of what you saw in the Super Bowl over the last 2 years. And it reminded me a lot. I know people have said it, but it was when they lost to the Bucs, where they just could not block. And that's really what the game came down to. And then Philly they were just a more well-rounded team.
I had the call back to just Peyton and the Broncos losing to the Seahawks. Is that was in even more dominant fashion, in my opinion. But
Yes. Not that dissimilar.
When I knew they were in trouble, though, was when they got a pick. Should have been down at least 10-0, maybe 14-0. Get a pick at about the 10-yard line, and it's 3rd and 4, and they hit Kelsey with that little just kind of stick. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's like, hey, go get open right past the 3rd down marker, and let's just keep this drive alive. And Mahomes hit him in the shins, and
they're behind him.
Yeah, and you're just, I mean, if they can't get that play right, are they going to be able to get anything right? And it gives Philly the short field. You didn't chew up any clock. That's when I was like, they're in trouble here.
I think it hit Mahomes early. It was like, all right, I got to create
the fact
chicken salad out of this. And
yeah.
I think he kind of got probably a little too over aggressive, and that's when you saw some of the mistakes.
The first
Philly was ready to
throwaway he had where he's running for his life and he still tried to get it to somebody on 3rd and 17 or whatever it was. It's like, dude, you're asking to get picked off.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think they felt if he could have go back, I think they would have been a little more conservative and tried to lean on their defense, because their defense was stopping the run.
Mm-hmm. Which we
maybe just try to just hang around a little bit until so the game is actually close in the 3rd, maybe close in the 4th quarter.
I just heard somebody screaming downstairs. That sounds like fun. You know what sounds like fun like it is there's some people that they were wearing Kentucky uniforms next year. They're looking for new jobs. You don't have to wear a Kentucky uniform to look for a new job. You can just start a new career path, start a new calling with My Perfect Franchise. You can be your own boss, own your own franchise, and get help you need to start it all up with Andy Luckett at myperfectfranchise.net. You can diversify, build your wealth, and leave a legacy. You can also even double dip with a job and a side hustle. Andy, with his consulting services, he can help put you on the right path to find the franchise that fits your lifestyle, what you love to do, what you're passionate about, and help you be your own business owner. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help you if you have any questions about business ownership. Just head over to myperfectfranchise.net to learn more, or you can call or text Andy at 404-973-9901. Andy Luckett at myperfectfranchise.net. Mr. Luckett, 4 guys got invited to the combine. The 2 big ones, Max Harrison, Deion Walker, Pop Dumas Johnson, also invited along with Eli Cox. Was a little disappointed D-Jack didn't get an invite, although I don't think it really suits his. I don't think he's ever going to be a great testing guy.
Well, I'm a little worried for him because medical. I thought he would show up on that list just for the medical.
Yeah, just to see how extensive his stuff is.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what's the deal with that injury?
Yeah, it's one of those two where I was always he's a great run stuffer, but you've seen his pass defense production in recent years. That should be a guy that's getting serious looks.
Yeah, I'm just very curious what the deal is with that injury.
Yeah, but the other 4 got along. I would say 3 of them are most certainly going to get drafted, and it hasn't been the best. The Senior Bowl wasn't very beneficial for Mr. Deion Walker. The size was great, but the pad level concerns, those aren't going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, for the kind of the media function of draft season, his stock is slipping. Now, it is a loaded defensive tackle class. Defensive line class in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, running back in defensive line, if your favorite NFL team needs that, you should be in pretty good shape. You're probably going to be able to find good players late day 2 into day 3.
Mm-hmm.
Both those positions. And so that, Walker, I think part of the issue is just that class is the class is just really, really good. There's a lot of depth at that position, and you know, just his play. He was better as a sophomore than he was as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
Now there was an injury, but pad level's a huge concern. Technique
Mm-hmm.
is a concern. Just his raw tools and athleticism. There's a lot to like there, but there's stuff you got to work around with, and it's the real question with him. I think is going to be, can he hold up as a run defender, or is he going to be like this weird guy we can this monster 3 tech potentially that we just use as a pass rusher? And so I'll be interested to see where he ends up. At the end of the day, I'd be interested to see how he tests.
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, it's hard for me to see him getting out of the second round just because of that skill set, like in size. This is a big man sport, and everyone's looking for pass rushers. So at the end of the day, how many teams are going to turn down a 6'6", 330-pound guy who can rush the passer? That's a skill every team is looking for, an interior rusher. And so I think that probably won't let him get out of the second round, but he's not the first rounder, and he's probably going to fall a little bit in the second round because of how deep this class is.
I also don't know what's the ceiling for Max Harrison, because it feels like things have gone pretty well for him, and then a lot of it will just come down to the testing stuff, right? Like that, and
yeah, corner. It's probably you could argue some of the athletic testing, like how really, like to me. In a whole, it shows like how athletic you are.
Correct.
Like you're going to play in the best league in the world. You should be pretty athletic compared to your size peers.
Right.
So if you're not, that's a little concerning. But corner, it's really important because you got to have the top end speed. If you don't have the top end speed,
mm-hmm.
it's going to be hard for you to cover these freaks across from you. Now with Harrison, I think the expectation is he will do pretty well in that testing. And size, he's 5'11", which is not the tallest, but good arm length, which is something they look at that's important at corner. And then I think it helps him that, some recent Kentucky guys have done well in the NFL corner. Andrew Phillips obviously last year, but even, Brandon Eccles has had a good career playing corner. And Kentucky was a zone-heavy scheme, but in man, he's shown that he can be pretty productive. I do worry kind of like, does the durability with him? He's missed a bunch of games. Does that affect him at all?
I do think
but he's got ball production, and he's got he's got reps against some really good receivers in this conference. And
well,
that's going to travel.
And it's a small sample size, and I think more, at least in this case, they'll say, well, there's so much good in that small sample size, we can extrapolate that out. And some smarty pants GM is going to say, oh, well, if he would have played more, he'd be a no doubt first rounder. So we got to get him. Like, we're getting a steal out of him just because he had a broken hand for half the season when he had 5 picks or whatever that was. And the durability, like I think we know what the issue was that they never really said publicly, but that was kind of a freak thing, right? It wasn't much of like a can he play through the pain sort of deal. So I don't think he'll get knocked too much for all of that. I really don't think so. Is it 3 weeks away from the combine?
2 weeks.
So it's like 1st of March.
Mm-hmm. I believe it starts on the 27th.
Oh, man. It'll be here before you know it. Will be probably snow on the ground. A little snow flurries today. So I'm cold. And not the biggest fan. But, hey, that's the part that I can't get over. Like, college baseball starting tomorrow. How Kentucky's playing in Nashville. You know how cold it's going to be? That is not baseball weather. The calendar really dumb for college baseball. It needs to start later. Are you feeling good about the Batcats? Or are you worried about this rebuild?
Yeah, I haven't really dug into them yet, but it seems like they're gonna need a very high hit rate on some of their portal acquisitions.
Well, make sure y'all are following along with Daniel Hager, who does a great job covering the team for us at KSR, and he does the Batcat beat here too, if you want to get even more than that. So baseball season starting tomorrow. Softball's already underway. We've got a little SEC hoops this weekend, and March Madness will be here before you know it. and we'll talk football whenever we need to talk football. You got any other football you want to talk, Mr. Luckett, before we get out of here?
No, I think that's about it. I'd expect spring ball to start probably the first week of March. We're still waiting on an announcement, but that's where it's at. And again, I think if the spring game, I would have visioned, Nick, it's going to be around like the Masters, which is like the weekend after the Final Four. So like the second weekend in April. That's when I would envision this spring game being, if you're curious about that. But we're waiting to hear from them. That should be pretty soon if they're releasing spring rosters. And so that'll be really the first time we get to hear from everybody. I mean, we haven't heard from Bush Hamden, Brad White since the Louisville game. I mean, it'll be 3 months since we've heard from them. And then we'll get to hear what Mark Stoops has to say here in a couple weeks. And we'll get to talk to all these new guys.
We heard him on SportsCenter, but it was 5-minute nothing burger. You know, I mean, it's a SportsCenter ad. You know, like they're not. We're working hard.
But you got to kind of read in between some of the answers there. And I think my first takeaway was it wasn't even just the wins and losses. I think he was very disappointed with how they kind of played. Effort. You know, there was a couple games, Nick, where it was just like the South Carolina game, they just kind of quit late in the game, right? The fight wasn't there. And then some of those games at the end of the season, the effort level just wasn't there. Like,
no.
The Louisville game was embarrassing. The Auburn game was embarrassing. The Florida game was embarrassing. And so I think that's really what they got to fix. And that's back to what I said earlier here on the show today. Like, you got to reset that culture. You know, that might mean harder practices heading into the season. And that might have to start spring ball.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Hey, all these new guys, this is how, and all these young guys, last year was not how we do things. This is how we do things. And if you want to hang your hat, Nick, on being like, hey, physical, we're gonna fight you. Like, you got to practice that way. So maybe that's something they have to get more back to. Is, you know, you don't want to be overboard, but maybe you got to get back to hitting more in practice. It's something that maybe might change. That might be what you hear. We're more physical in practice this year.
And then there'll be an injury, and Stoops will freak out.
Yeah,
it's
all football at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's all cyclical. But we'll be standing by whenever we get the chance to talk about whatever they're talking about. We'll be chomping at the bit. But we're going to get out of here for now. It's been fun. We'll be back next Thursday with a little more football talk. See you then. This has been 11 Personnel.